The dust never settled properly on Kepler 442b. It hung in the air like a dirty curtain, making everything look brown and tired. Henry Jacobs sat in his repair shop, wiping grease from an old engine part. His hands moved slowly, the way old hands do when they have seen too many years. The shop was small and cluttered with broken machines, spare parts, and tools that had been used so many times. Their handles were worn smooth. Henry was 78 years old. His hair was white as snow, his face was covered with deep wrinkles, and his back was bent from decades of hard work. He looked like any other old man trying to survive on a frontier mining colony. Nobody who saw him would guess that he had once been Commander Henry Jacobs, leader of the Ghost Brigade during the First Contact Wars. That was a lifetime ago, and he preferred to keep it that way. The sun was setting when he heard the heavy footsteps outside. Two shadows fell across his doorway, blocking the orange light. Henry did not look up right away. He kept working on the engine part, his fingers moving carefully over the metal surface. He knew who they were before they even spoke. Victoria and Samantha Kane walked into his shop like they owned the place. They were tall, much taller than any human, with bodies covered in scales that shimmered green and gold in the dim light. Their eyes were bright yellow with black slits for pupils, and when they moved, Henry could hear the soft sound of their scales sliding against each other. The Dragon Lady Sisters, they were called, bounty hunters from the Draken Empire, the most feared hunters in 5-star systems. Victoria was the older one. She had a scar running down the left side of her face, cutting through her scales like a white lightning bolt. She carried herself with the confidence of someone who had never lost a fight. Samantha was younger, her scales brighter, her movements quicker. But her eyes were harder, colder. She was the dangerous one, Henry thought. The quiet ones always were. Henry Jacobs, Victoria said. Her voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. She spoke human language well, but with an accent that made every word sound like a threat. "We need to talk to you about your property." Henry finally looked up. His eyes were pale blue, faded with age. He blinked slowly as if he was having trouble focusing on them. "My property? This old shop? What about it?" "The corporation wants to buy it," Samantha said. She moved around the shop, her clawed hands touching things, picking them up and setting them down. She was searching for something Henry knew. Weapons, probably. Or anything valuable. "They made you an offer last month. You refused." "I like my shop," Henry said simply. He set down the engine part and reached for a rag to wipe his hands. His movements were slow and shaky. "Been here 15 years. Not interested in selling." Victoria stepped closer. She towered over him, her shadow falling across his workbench. "The corporation is not asking anymore, old man. They are telling you. You have 1 week to accept their offer and leave. If you do not, things will become very difficult for you." Henry looked up at her. For a moment something flickered in his pale eyes, something sharp and dangerous. But then it was gone, replaced by the confused look of a tired old man. "Difficult? What do you mean?" "Accidents happen on mining colonies," Samantha said. She was standing near the door now, blocking his exit. "Equipment fails. Buildings collapse. Old men get hurt." Henry's hand went to his chest. He pressed his palm against his shirt right over his heart. His breathing became faster, more shallow. "You cannot do this. I have rights. The colony laws protect property owners." "The colony laws are written by the corporations," Victoria said. She did not sound happy about it, Henry noticed. "Just tired. Take the offer, walk away. You are too old to fight this battle." Henry's face went pale. He gasped, his hand clutching tighter at his chest. His other hand grabbed the edge of the workbench to steady himself. "My heart," he whispered. "My medication." In the cabinet, but before he could say more, his eyes rolled back. His body went limp and he collapsed into his chair, his head falling forward onto his chest. His arms hung at his sides. He did not move. He did not make a sound. The shop was suddenly very quiet. The only noise was the hum of the power generator outside and the soft whistle of wind through the broken window. Victoria and Samantha stared at the old man. They looked at each other, and for the first time since entering the shop they seemed uncertain. What they did not know was that Henry Jacobs was fully awake. His eyes were closed, but he could hear everything. His breathing was controlled, slowed down using techniques he had learned in the military decades ago. He could make his heart rate drop so low that most scanners would not detect it properly. He had faked his death 3 times during the war to escape enemy capture. This was easy compared to that. Henry wanted to see what the Dragon Lady Sisters would do. He had heard stories about them. Everyone had. They were ruthless, efficient, and always completed their contracts. They had killed criminals, captured fugitives, and intimidated countless people just like him. They worked for whoever paid them the most, and they did not care about right or wrong. But Henry had also heard other stories. Quieter stories that people did not talk about as much. Stories about how the sisters sometimes let targets escape if they had children. About how they had once returned money to a widow, whose husband they had been hired to hunt. About how they followed an old code of honor that most people thought the Dracon had forgotten. Henry wanted to know which stories were true. So he lay there perfectly still, looking like a corpse, and he waited to see what two of the galaxy's most feared hunters would do when they thought nobody was watching. The test had begun. Victoria moved first. She stepped forward quickly and pressed two clawed fingers against Henry's neck, checking for a pulse. Her golden eyes were wide with concern. She said something in the Dracon language, the words coming out fast and sharp. Samantha responded in the same language. Their voices were urgent, worried. They spoke quickly, their scales rippling with agitation. Henry remained perfectly still. Years ago, he had installed a translation device in his shop. It was hidden inside an old radio on the shelf, disguised as a broken piece of junk. The device picked up their words and translated them in real time, sending the meaning directly to a tiny earpiece Henry wore. The earpiece looked like a hearing aid, so nobody ever questioned it. He has a pulse, but it is very weak, Victoria was saying. This is not good. We were supposed to scare him, not kill him. We did not touch him, Samantha replied. She was pacing now, her tail swishing back and forth in distress. He just collapsed. It must be his heart. Did you see how he grabbed his chest? What do we do? Victoria asked. Her voice had lost all its threatening edge. Now she just sounded like someone facing a problem she did not know how to solve. We should call for medical help, Samantha said. And tell them what? That we came here to threaten an old man and he had a heart attack? The contract said intimidation only. No violence, no harm. If he dies, the corporation will not pay us. Worse, they will blame us for going too far. So we just leave him to die? Samantha's voice was sharp with anger. That is not who we are, Victoria. That has never been who we are. Victoria was quiet for a moment. Henry could feel her fingers still on his neck, checking his pulse. Her touch was surprisingly gentle for someone with such dangerous claws. You are right, she finally said. Get the medical kit from the ship, quickly. Samantha ran out of the shop. Henry heard the sound of her footsteps fading away, then the roar of their ship's engines powering up in the landing area nearby. She was gone less than 3 minutes before she returned, carrying a metal case. Victoria had moved Henry into a more comfortable position while her sister was gone. She had grabbed a dusty blanket from a shelf and put it over him to keep him warm. She had also cleared his workbench, pushing aside all the tools and parts to make room in case they needed space to work. Samantha opened the medical kit. Inside were various devices and bottles, some human-made, some Dracon technology. She pulled out a scanner and ran it over Henry's body. The device beeped and displayed information in Dracon symbols. His heart is failing, Samantha said. Not completely, but the rhythm is wrong. He needs medication. Do we have anything that will work on human physiology? Victoria asked. Samantha was already sorting through the bottles. This one, Universal Cardiac Stabilizer. It works on most species with similar biology. The dosage for humans is marked on the side. Henry felt a small injection in his arm. The liquid was cold as it entered his bloodstream. He had to work hard not to react, not to flinch or move. The medication was real. They were actually trying to save him. How long until it works? Victoria asked. 10 to 15 minutes. His heart rate should stabilize and his breathing should become regular. Samantha put away the scanner and sat down on an overturned crate. She looked exhausted. This job was supposed to be simple. Nothing is ever simple, Victoria said. She was still watching Henry carefully, monitoring his condition. I am tired, Samantha. Tired of these jobs. Tired of working for people who do not deserve our service. We need the money, Samantha replied. Our ship needs repairs. We have debts to pay. The fuel costs alone are crushing us, I know. But look at us. We are dragon warriors. Our ancestors were the greatest fighters in the galaxy. They fought with honor. They protected the weak. They stood for something. And what are we doing? Threatening old men so corporations can steal their land. Our ancestors also starved when they had no contracts. Samantha said, but her voice was soft. Honor does not pay for fuel or food. Victoria made a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been a sob. Do you remember what Mother used to say? She said that the moment we lose our honor is the moment we stop being Dracon. We become just animals with scales. Mother died believing in honor, Samantha said quietly. And she died poor and forgotten. Is that what you want for us? No, but I do not want this either. Victoria gestured around the shabby shop. This human is old and alone. He has nothing, and we came here to take away the only thing he has left. How does that make us different from the raiders and criminals we used to hunt? Samantha did not answer. She just sat there staring at the floor. Henry listened to every word. Through his barely open eyes, he could see them clearly. These were not the monsters people talked about in frightened whispers. They were just two people trying to survive in a universe that did not care about honor or doing the right thing. He could see the wear on their equipment now. Victoria's armor had been repaired many times, the welds visible along the seams. Samantha's weapon holster was held together with tape. Their boots were worn down at the heels. Even their ship, which he could see through the window, looked old and battered. The Dragon Lady Sisters were not rich and successful. They were desperate, and desperate people did things they would not normally do. They took jobs from clients they would normally refuse. They compromised their principles little by little, until one day they woke up and did not recognize themselves anymore. Henry knew that feeling. He had been there himself many years ago. Check him again, Victoria said. Samantha stood up and ran the scanner over Henry once more. His heart rate is improving. The medication is working. He should wake up soon. Good, Victoria said. When he wakes up, we tell him the truth. We tell him about the corporation and their offer. We tell him that they will send others if we fail. Others who might not be so careful. We give him a chance to walk away safely. The contract says we are supposed to make sure he agrees to sell, Samantha said. The contract can go to hell, Victoria replied. We will tell the corporation we delivered the message. What the old man does after that is his choice. We are not going to hurt him, and we are not going to destroy his home. If they do not like it, they can find other hunters. Samantha smiled for the first time since entering the shop. You sound like Mother. Maybe that is not such a bad thing, Victoria said. They sat together in silence, waiting for Henry to wake up. Neither of them noticed the tiny smile that flickered across the old man's face for just a moment, before disappearing again. The test was going exactly as Henry had hoped. Henry decided it was time to end the test. He had seen enough. He had heard enough. The Dragon Lady Sisters were exactly what he had hoped they would be, and now he needed to show them who he really was. He opened his eyes slowly. He took a deep breath, then another. He sat up straight in his chair, his movements smooth and controlled. No trembling, no weakness, no confusion. Victoria and Samantha jumped backward so fast they almost tripped over each other. Their hands went to their weapons instantly, claws extending, bodies dropping into defensive stances. They moved like trained fighters, fast and precise. What is happening? Victoria demanded. You were dying. We scanned you. Your heart was failing. Henry stood up. He folded the blanket they had put over him and set it neatly on the workbench. He stretched his back, rolling his shoulders. My heart is fine. I have controlled my heartbeat since I was 20 years old. It is a technique the military teaches for surviving interrogation and torture. Useful skill. Samantha's eyes went wide. You were faking? This whole time? Every second of it, Henry said calmly. He walked over to the old radio on the shelf and pulled out the translation device. He held it up so they could see it. I understood every word you said. I speak Dracon. Not well, but enough. This just helped me catch everything. Victoria's face went through several expressions in quick succession. Shock, confusion, anger, and finally a dangerous kind of respect. Who are you, old man? Really? My name is Henry Jacobs. Commander Henry Jacobs, retired. I led the Ghost Brigade during the first contact wars. Special operations. Deep infiltration. Enemy elimination. I have been captured 17 times, escaped 16 times, and faked my death on 3 separate occasions. He smiled slightly. What I just did was easy compared to some of those experiences. The sisters stared at him. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Ghost Brigade. They were legends. The human soldiers who could move through enemy territory like ghosts, who struck without warning and vanished before anyone knew what happened. The Draken military had lost thousands of soldiers trying to hunt them down. The Ghost Brigade was disbanded 20 years ago, Samantha said. When the war ended. Most of it was, Henry agreed. But some of us kept working. Different missions. Different enemies. I retired 5 years ago and came here. He gestured around his shabby shop. This is my home now. Nobody knows who I am. Nobody cares. Just another old human on a frontier colony. Why did you test us? Victoria asked. Her hand was still on her weapon, but she had not drawn it. Why fake your death? You could have just refused our threats and sent us away. Because I needed to know what kind of people you are, Henry said. I have been watching you since you arrived on this colony 2 days ago. I know why you are here. I know who hired you. And I know that you did not want to take this job. You know nothing about us, Samantha said, but her voice lacked conviction. I know more than you think, Henry replied. He walked over to his workbench and pulled out a data pad from a drawer. He activated it and showed them the screen. Your ship registration expires in 2 weeks. You do not have enough credits to renew it. You have outstanding debts with 3 different fuel stations. Your last 5 contracts have been for corporations doing questionable work. Intimidation. Debt collection. Property seizure. Not the kind of work that dragon warriors are supposed to do. Victoria's scales rippled with barely controlled anger. You investigated us? I investigate everyone who comes to this colony with weapons and bad intentions, Henry said. Usually they are just common criminals. But you two are different. You have reputations. The Dragon Lady Sisters. Never failed a contract. Never hurt an innocent person. Always follow the old Draken codes of honor, even when nobody is watching. If you know all this, then you know we are dangerous, Samantha said. We could still complete our contract. We could still make you leave. Henry smiled. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of a predator showing his teeth. You could try, but I was killing trained Draken soldiers before you were born. This shop has weapons hidden in places you did not even think to search, and I have not survived 3 wars by being easy to intimidate. So no, you could not make me leave. But you already decided not to try, did you not? I heard you talking. You decided to warn me instead of threaten me. You chose to help an old man, even though it meant failing your contract. That is what I needed to know. The sisters looked at each other. Victoria's expression was hard to read, but Samantha looked almost embarrassed, like a child caught doing something she thought was secret. Why does it matter what we chose? Victoria asked. What difference does it make to you? It makes all the difference, Henry said. He set down the datapad and looked at them seriously. I have a proposition for you. A job offer. But first I need you to understand something. What I'm about to show you is classified. Secret. If you tell anyone about it, there will be consequences. Do you understand? We are bounty hunters, not spies, Samantha said. We do not sell information. Good, Henry said. Then follow me. He walked to the back of the shop, to a wall covered with old shelves full of junk. He pressed his hand against a specific spot, and there was a soft beep. A section of the wall slid aside, revealing a doorway leading down into darkness. What is this? Victoria asked. My real workshop, Henry said. The place where I do my actual work. Come on. I promise you will want to see this. He walked through the doorway and started down the stairs. After a moment of hesitation, the Dragon Lady Sisters followed him. The door slid shut behind them automatically, sealing with a hiss. The stairs went down about 30 feet into solid rock. The walls were reinforced metal and lights flickered on as they descended. At the bottom was another door, this one much heavier, with multiple locks and security scanners. Henry placed his hand on the scanner. There was a series of clicks and beeps, and then the heavy door swung open. Beyond the door was a large underground facility. It was nothing like the shabby repair shop above. This place was clean, organized, and filled with advanced technology. There were multiple computer stations, weapon racks, a small armory, medical equipment, and walls covered with screens showing maps, data streams, and surveillance feeds from all over the colony. Victoria and Samantha stood in the doorway, staring in shock. Welcome to the headquarters of the Frontier Shield, Henry said. An organization I founded 5 years ago to protect the people that nobody else cares about. The colonists on the edge of human space. The miners, farmers, and families trying to build lives in places where the government cannot or will not help them. We fight the raiders, the slavers, the corrupt corporations, and anyone else who preys on the innocent. You run this alone? Samantha asked, walking into the facility and looking around in amazement. Mostly, Henry said. I have a few part-time helpers. Colonists who volunteer when they can. But I need real operatives. Trained fighters who can handle dangerous missions. People with skills, experience, and most importantly, people who have not lost their sense of right and wrong despite living in a universe that rewards cruelty. He turned to face them directly. I am offering you a job. Regular contracts, fair pay. No more working for corporations that want you to intimidate old men or collect debts from desperate families. Instead, you hunt real criminals. Slavers who kidnap colonists. Raiders who attack settlements. Corrupt officials who abuse their power. You use your skills to protect people instead of scaring them. What do you say? The sisters stood in silence, processing everything they had just seen and heard. Victoria was the first to speak. Her voice was careful, measured. Why would you trust us? We are Draken. Your people fought against mine for 30 years. Billions died on both sides. Many humans still hate us. Many Drakens still hate humans. And you want to hire us to protect human colonies? Henry walked over to one of the computer stations and pulled up a chair. He sat down slowly, his old bones creaking. I judge people by what they do, not what species they are. During the war, I fought against Drakon soldiers. Some of them were monsters who enjoyed killing, but some of them were just soldiers following orders, same as me. I learned that evil is not about what color your skin is or how many fingers you have. Evil is about choices, about what you do when nobody is watching, about whether you help or hurt when you have the power to choose. He looked at them with those pale blue eyes that suddenly did not look old at all. They looked sharp and clear and full of intelligence. When you thought I was dying, you helped me. You used your own medical supplies. You risked your contract and your reputation. You did it because it was the right thing to do, even though there was no reward. That tells me everything I need to know about who you really are. Samantha walked around the facility, examining the equipment. She stopped at a wall covered with photographs. They were pictures of colonists, families, children, old people. Some of the photos had red marks across them. What are these? Those are the people we saved, Henry said quietly. The red marks are the ones we could not save. We lost them before we could reach them. Slavers took them, or raiders killed them, or they died from things that should never have happened. Every red mark is a reminder of why this work matters. There were dozens of photos with red marks. Maybe 100. Samantha touched one gently, a picture of a young girl with bright eyes and a big smile. How old was she? 7, Henry said. Her name was Katie. Raiders attacked her settlement 6 months ago while I was on the other side of the colony dealing with a different emergency. By the time I got there, it was too late. She and her parents were gone. We never found them. The room was quiet for a long moment. Victoria moved to stand beside her sister. They both stared at the wall of photographs. You cannot save everyone, old man. Nobody can. I know, Henry said, but I can save more people with help than I can alone. I am 78 years old. I'm not as fast as I used to be. Not as strong. I can still fight, still plan missions, still run operations. But I need people in the field. People who can move quickly, fight effectively, and make good decisions under pressure. Why us, specifically? Samantha asked. There must be other hunters. Other fighters you could hire. There are, Henry agreed. But most of them are only interested in money. They will work for whoever pays the most, and they do not care about right or wrong. Some of them are barely better than the criminals they hunt. I need people who have a code, a sense of honor. The Dragon Warrior Code is one of the oldest and strongest in the galaxy. When a Dragon Warrior makes a promise, they keep it. When they accept a contract, they complete it. When they protect someone, they protect them with their lives. He stood up and walked over to them. Despite his age and his bent back, there was something commanding about him. Something that made them both stand a little straighter. I have been watching you for months ever since you started taking contracts in this sector. I see how you work. You always verify your targets before you hunt them. You never hurt innocent people. You follow rules even when it would be easier not to. You are exactly what the Frontier Shield needs. What about our debts? Victoria asked. The practical question. What about our obligations? We have people we owe money to. If we disappear, they will come looking for us. Henry smiled. I can clear your debts. All of them. I have been saving money for years. And I have some wealthy supporters who donate to the Frontier Shield. Rich people who feel guilty about how the frontier colonies are treated. They give money to help, even if they do not want their names attached to it. I can pay off your fuel debts, repair your ship, and give you enough credits to start fresh. That is a lot of money, Samantha said suspiciously. What do you get in return? Your skills, your time, your commitment. Henry walked back to the computer and pulled up a file. The screen showed information about a criminal organization. Your first mission, if you accept, starts in 2 days. There is a slaver ring operating in the outer settlements. They have been kidnapping colonists and selling them to mining corporations that use forced labor. The local authorities know about it but are being paid to look the other way. I need someone to track down the slavers, free the captives, and shut down the operation permanently. Victoria studied the information on the screen. How many slavers? Approximately 20. Maybe more. They have weapons, body armor, and a fortified compound in the northern mountains. That is a lot of enemies for just 2 people, Victoria said. You would have support, Henry replied. I have contacts who can provide intelligence, equipment, and extraction if things go wrong. You would not be alone. Samantha looked at her sister. They had a whole conversation without words, the way siblings do when they have known each other their entire lives. Finally, Samantha spoke. Can we have time to discuss this? Privately? Of course, Henry said. Take all the time you need. The facility upstairs is empty. You can use it to talk. I will wait here. The sisters went back up the stairs together. Henry heard their footsteps fade away, then the sound of the door closing. He sat down at the computer and pulled up more files. He had other work to do, other missions to plan. But his mind was on the 2 Dragon warriors discussing their future somewhere above his head. He hoped they would accept. He needed them. The Frontier Shield needed them. But more than that, he thought they needed this. They needed a chance to be what they were supposed to be. Warriors with honor. Protectors of the weak. Not just desperate hunters taking whatever jobs came their way. Upstairs, Victoria and Samantha sat in the dark repair shop and talked. What do you think? Samantha asked. Victoria was quiet for a long time. I think he is telling the truth. I think he really does run this organization. I think he really does want to help people. That is not what I asked, Samantha said. I asked what you think we should do. Victoria looked at her younger sister. What do you want to do? I want to say yes, Samantha admitted. I am tired of being afraid all the time. Afraid we will not make enough money. Afraid we will lose the ship. Afraid we will have to take worse and worse jobs until we become the kind of people we used to hunt. I want to do something that matters. Something Mother would be proud of. Mother is dead, Victoria said, but her voice was gentle. I know, but her lessons are not dead. Her code is not dead, not as long as we remember it. Samantha looked down at her clawed hands. We came here tonight to threaten an old man, to scare him into giving up his home so a corporation could make more money. That is not who we are supposed to be. That is not what Dragon Warriors do. Victoria nodded slowly. You are right. We have been compromising our principles for so long that we almost forgot we had any. She looked around the shabby repair shop. But this seems too good to be true. What if it is a trap? What if he is lying? He faked a heart attack to test our character, Samantha said. He could have just refused our threats. He could have fought us. He is apparently some kind of legendary human warrior, but instead, he pretended to be helpless to see what we would do. That tells me he cares more about honor than most people, maybe more than anyone we have met in years. And if we fail, if we cannot do the work he needs, then we fail with honor, Samantha said. Better to fail trying to do something good than to succeed doing something wrong. Victoria smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. You sound like Mother. Maybe that is not such a bad thing, Samantha replied, echoing what Victoria had said earlier. They sat together in the darkness for a while longer, thinking about their past, their present, and the future that was being offered to them. A future where they could be warriors again, instead of just survivors. A future where their skills would protect the innocent instead of serving the powerful. Finally, Victoria stood up. Let us go tell the old man our answer. The sisters walked back down the stairs into the underground facility. Henry was still sitting at the computer reviewing data about the slaver operation. He looked up when they entered but did not say anything. He just waited. Victoria stepped forward. She stood straight, shoulders back, the way dragon warriors stood when they made formal declarations. We have made our decision. We accept your offer, Commander Jacobs, but we have conditions. I am listening, Henry said. First, we will not hide who we are or what we have done. Our past includes jobs we are not proud of. If we are going to work for the Frontier Shield, we do it honestly. We earn redemption through our actions, not by pretending to be something we are not. Henry nodded. Agreed, I am not asking you to hide anything. I am asking you to move forward. Second, Victoria continued, we make our own tactical decisions in the field. You provide intelligence and support, but we do not take orders that violate our warrior code. We protect innocence. We do not kill unnecessarily. We offer mercy when it is deserved. Also agreed, Henry said. I trust your judgment. That is why I want to hire you. Third, if this does not work out, if we fail, or if this organization is not what you claim, we walk away with no debts. You do not come after us. We do not owe you anything. Henry thought about this for a moment, then nodded. Fair enough, but I do not think it will come to that. Victoria looked at Samantha, who stepped forward. We have one question before we commit. Why did you really fake your death? You said it was a test, but there is more to it than that. I can see it in your eyes. Henry was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood up and walked over to the wall of photographs. He touched one gently, a picture of a young man in military uniform. The photo was old and faded. This was my son. His name was Daniel. He died during the war. A Dragon soldier killed him. The sisters said nothing. They just waited for him to continue. For a long time, I hated all Dracon. I blamed your entire species for my son's death. It was easier than accepting that war is just random and cruel, and does not care who deserves to live or die. Henry's voice was soft but steady. Then one day, years after the war ended, I was on a transport ship. There was an accident. A fire in the engine room. People were trapped. I tried to help, but I could not reach them. The smoke was too thick. The heat was too intense. He paused, his hand still on his son's photograph. A Dracon engineer went in anyway. She wore protective gear and pulled out 3 humans who would have died. She burned her scales and damaged her lungs from the smoke. When I asked her why she risked her life for humans, she said it was because it was the right thing to do. Species did not matter, only the choice to help or not help. Henry turned to look at the sisters. That Dracon engineer taught me something important. She taught me that honor is not about what side you fought on or what species you belong to. Honor is about what you do when you have a choice. I faked my death tonight because I needed to know what you would choose when you thought nobody was watching. And you chose to help an old man who was supposed to be your target. That is honor. That is what the galaxy needs more of. Samantha's eyes were bright with emotion. Dragons could not cry the way humans did, but there were signs. The way her scales rippled. The way her voice caught slightly when she spoke. Your son would be proud of you. For seeing past your hate. For building something good. Maybe, Henry said. I hope so. He walked back to the computer and pulled up the mission files again. So are we doing this? Are you ready to start hunting slavers instead of threatening shopkeepers? Victoria smiled. It was the first real smile she had shown since entering his shop hours ago. We are ready. Tell us about the mission. Henry pulled up detailed maps of the northern mountains. The slaver compound is here. It is built into an old mining facility that was abandoned 10 years ago. The slavers moved in 6 months ago and have been using it as a base. They send out small teams to kidnap colonists from isolated settlements. They keep the captives in the compound for a few days, then transport them to buyers off-world. How many captives are there now? Samantha asked. According to my sources, about 15. Men and women. Some children. They are scheduled to be moved in 3 days, so we do not have much time. What kind of defenses does the compound have? Victoria was studying the maps carefully. Automated turrets at the main entrance. Guards on patrol. Security cameras. The facility has thick walls and only 2 entrances. It is designed to keep people in, but it also makes it hard to attack from outside. So we need a different approach, Samantha said. Going through the front would be suicide. Exactly, Henry agreed. That is why I need smart fighters, not just strong ones. This mission requires planning and precision. The 3 of them spent the next hour going over details. Henry provided information about the slavers, their schedules, their weapons, and their weaknesses. Victoria and Samantha asked questions and started forming a plan. They talked about entry points, escape routes, and how to free the captives without getting them killed in the crossfire. Henry was impressed. The sisters were professional and thorough. They thought about every angle, every possible problem. This was not their first dangerous mission, and it showed. Finally, Samantha asked, "What happens after we shut down this slaver ring? What is the next mission?" There is always a next mission, Henry said quietly. The frontier is huge, and there are not enough good people protecting it. We will be busy for a long time. Good, Victoria said. We have wasted enough years already. Time to start doing work that matters. Henry smiled. Welcome to the Frontier Shield Sisters. Let me show you where you can get some rest. We start preparing tomorrow morning. The mission begins in 2 days, and there is a lot of work to do. He led them to a small living area in the back of the facility. There were sleeping quarters, a kitchen, and a common room with comfortable furniture. It was simple but clean and well-maintained. You can stay here while you are working with us, Henry said. Your ship can remain at the landing pad. Nobody will bother it. This colony might be rough, but it is my colony. People know to respect my property and anyone associated with me. Thank you, Samantha said, for trusting us. For giving us this chance. Thank me by doing good work, Henry replied. Save those captives. Stop those slavers. Show the galaxy that the Dragon Lady Sisters are more than just the stories people tell. After Henry left them alone to rest, the sisters sat together in their new quarters. Do you think we made the right choice? Victoria asked. I think we made the only choice we could live with, Samantha replied. We have been running and surviving for so long. Maybe it is time to stand and fight for something real. It will be dangerous. We are dragon warriors. Danger is what we were born for. Samantha looked at her sister. But this time, the danger serves a purpose. We fight to protect, not just to get paid. That makes all the difference, Victoria nodded. She looked tired, but also more peaceful than she had looked in years. Mother would approve. Yes, Samantha agreed softly. She would. They rested that night, their first real rest in months. No debts hanging over them. No desperate scramble for the next contract. No compromise of their principles just to survive another week. Upstairs in his small apartment above the repair shop, Henry Jacobs looked out the window at the stars. He thought about his son. He thought about all the people he had not been able to save. He thought about the 2 Dragon warriors sleeping in the facility below, preparing to fight for something good. The test had been successful. The old man had pretended to sleep, and the Dragon Lady Sisters had revealed their true nature. They were honorable warriors trapped in dishonorable circumstances, waiting for someone to give them a chance to be who they were meant to be. In 2 days, they would face slavers together. After that, there would be other missions, other battles, other lives to save. The work would be hard and dangerous. Some days they would win. Some days they would lose. But they would face it all with honor, which was more than most people could say. Henry smiled in the darkness. For the first time in years, he felt hopeful about the future. The Frontier Shield had just gained 2 of the most valuable operatives in the galaxy. The criminals, raiders, and corrupt corporations preying on innocent colonists had no idea what was coming for them. The Dragon Lady Sisters were no longer just hunters for hire. They were protectors now, guardians of the weak, warriors with a purpose, and the old man who had tested them with a fake heart attack had given them the greatest gift possible, a second chance to be heroes instead of just survivors. The story of the old man and the Dragon Lady Sisters was just beginning, and the galaxy was about to learn that honor still meant something in the darkness of space.